Hey everybody, this is So Many Sequels. I'm Josh.
I'm Garrett.
And I'm David.
This week / this month on the show, we're introducing a brand new theme. And this week's theme, week and month. This month's theme is A24. We're very proud of it.
Still don't know if the name really works.
We love A24.
I hope
Hey,
people love it.
wait, look at how my name is spelled. I just want to call it out.
Oh, hang on.
Yeah.
How do I see the name?
Get24.
Oh, Gay24 it. That's not funny.
Yes, we're doing A24 poll. Don't worry, we've tested it with focus groups and it went over very well. Each one of us has chosen an A24 movie to review this month, and we are also going to review a brand new film from the studio, Civil War, which comes out April 12th, I think. Somewhere in mid-April. You can Google it. Anyway, we're going to talk about those movies, and in this episode, we're going to reveal those. But first, let's talk about why A24. I mean, it's pretty much every film bro's favorite indie studio. It's become that kind of like, this is cinema of the modern letterboxd user. Mm-hmm. We all love it. I mean, we're pretty shameless about that, I think. We largely enjoy A24 films, other than the instances where David's a weenie, probably. But what do you guys think? What's your connection to A24? What actually, let me ask this. Assuming it's not the film you've chosen, is there like a movie? What is like the first A24 movie you remember seeing where you were like, oh, I recognize the studio as quality? I'm afraid of David.
Garrett, go first.
Oh man, that's a tough question because I'm trying to think of like their movies.
Yeah.
For me, I feel like Lady Bird is really the one that kind of like I always go to when I think of A24 is like what made them stand out. Lady Bird, Greta Gerwig, Saoirse Ronan, and that really I feel like them being nominated for Best Actor, Picture, and Director, I feel like really put them on the map. But then some of the other ones, again, it is the movie that I picked, and it stands out as one of the like weirdest things that I can remember seeing also, and that contrast is what I always think of, and so I'm always at least interested when I see an A24 movie come out at this point in time. But for me, I think Lady Bird is the one that I always think of.
That's a great answer.
What about you, David? Do you have one?
Honestly, guys, I have not seen that many A24 films. Like, I legitimately tried to find out when we announced that we were doing this. I think I've seen like 4, maybe. And I think the first one, you're not going to believe this, the first A24 film I actually saw was Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Wow.
Look, I'll be honest with you, they do a lot of creepy horror thriller movies, and that ain't my bag, all right? I'm cool guy Western, as we've established. So, little Susie gets her head knocked off by a telephone pole wasn't my thing. I did watch Hereditary eventually, and I did watch The Iron Claw, and I did eventually watch Lady Bird. So I would say The Iron Claw and Lady Bird is where I was like, oh, these movies are good sometimes. And by good, I mean a movie David will watch.
Yeah.
Hereditary, that movie can F off. That was not my thing at all.
Yeah, that movie's great.
The movie's off-putting and spooky, and I don't respond well to spooky behavior. So I'm trying very desperately to cross off a big chunk here of great A24 films, and I'm relying on you guys not to pick spooky movies.
Okay.
Which I think you've done. I'm not sure. I haven't looked to see what you've chosen.
Who can really
to
say?
Subjugate me to.
Who can really say?
But that said, I very quickly became aware that they were building a reputation probably somewhere between 2016, 2017. This was around the time of Lady Bird, Moonlight, films that were more so distributed at the time by A24. I just started seeing that logo everywhere, and I started seeing the T-shirts. I started seeing the hats, and I started seeing the memes of people posting A24 cinema memes and stuff like that. So while I haven't taken a deep dive, you know, I have no disrespect towards it. I actually really appreciate their goal, which we can talk about in a little bit. But what about you, Josh?
So the first one that I can really remember going, whoa, this is different, is The Witch. I don't know if either of you ever watched The Witch, but I watched
No,
The Witch.
but you and I were roommates at the time.
Yeah.
And I refused to watch it.
Yeah, I watched it.
That says a lot.
See, right? I watched it sitting cross-legged on the floor with a comforter wrapped around me, right in front of the TV, like Pongo in the 101 Dalmatians.
Yeah, I think it's a great shout to Pongo.
It was rough. It was rough, but I was like, okay, this is a different breed of horror movie.
Who directed that? Who directed The Witch?
Robert
I feel like
Eggers,
they're-
I believe.
Eggers,
Yeah,
it's that
was
guy.
ours.
A24's whole thing is that they want to produce movies or distribute movies that come from a unique perspective, a distinct point of view. That's kind of like their goal, is to highlight voices and stories that they believe that others may not tell, which I guess is why, David, you perceive them as being so weird and creepy. It's that
They sometimes
they
are.
do some of those weird and creepy things that you might not see elsewhere, but they also do just like a pretty good range of odd and bizarre and unique and interesting and just sometimes even more human than you'll see from a more mainstream, larger studio. I mean, it's interesting because this is like, I wonder at what point is a studio no longer considered indie? At what point does it grow to the point where it's just a big one? You know.
And I think when they start having Academy Award-winning films, which
it just
did
did,
not
it
take
just
very
won
long
Best
for
Picture.
A24. Yeah.
Which we're gonna have. I know we have at least one of the more strange, bizarre A24 films on our list for this month. But they've also done everything from, like we just said, Everything Everywhere All at Once, which won Best Picture last year. The Whale, which won Brendan Fraser his Oscar the year before. Great, beloved horror movies like Hereditary and Midsommar. I know, David, you don't like them, but they are good.
They're good.
And then also
But
plenty
They're not for me.
of off the wall comedies as well. Bodies is silly. So they cover a big range of movies is basically the point we're getting at here. So do we want to go ahead and jump in and start going around talking about each of these movies we've chosen?
Yeah, we can.
Great.
Let's start with you, Garrett.
Yeah. Uh-oh.
Well, you know, I am. This is. I don't even know how to explain this movie. You know, it's not really explainable in a way that's understandable. You just kind of have to see it. But this is the first A24 movie that I really remember being like, wow, this is weird and different. And I appreciate it because it's something that is so out of left field. And it was an actor who was, you know, in a verge of being typecast, really doing something to really make sure he wasn't. I am talking about Daniel Radcliffe in his starring role in Swiss Army Man alongside Paul Dano. Let me see. The best description I can give this is: a man stranded on an island tries to escape after becoming friends with a corpse that washes ashore. Paul Dano is that man, and Daniel Radcliffe is that corpse.
See,
And through this whole
that's what I'm
thing,
talking about.
as there's farts, there's there's weirdness, man. There's
said that's what
David,
I'm
you are
talking
gonna hate this. You're gonna hate this. It's weird
very
and creepy.
possible.
It's weird and creepy, but not.
Well,
in
my
a scary
understanding,
way.
my
You're
understanding is
just
a black
gonna hate
comedy,
it.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
all right.
funny. It's not scary. It's creepy.
A
Yes.
dark comedy.
No,
Oh,
it's just
boy.
so. It is just one of the weirdest movies I've ever seen, and
Yeah.
it is the Daniels. It is the
Daniels,
best directors and the best
Yes.
picture winning, and this is the first. This is their directorial debut as well. So like this is their first movie, And it is weird, man. It is so weird, but like also, again, one of those things that if you get into it, it can give you that weird, sentimental, emotional touch kind of moment where it like, why am I feeling the way that I'm feeling in this weird, off the wall, crazy movie? And it's just something that you don't expect, and it's just really well done. And again, Daniel Radcliffe coming off of the Harry Potter, really trying to be something different, and he is.
And I'm gonna say this: I have not seen his full filmography, but I can tell
stunning.
Paul Dano doesn't miss.
Oh, and Paul Dano doesn't miss either.
Paul Dano, if you look
either.
up his filmography, it's like hit after hit after, and like not necessarily like big box office hit,
No.
but just like critically acclaimed movies. If Paul Dano is on the poster, you know it's going to be a good movie.
Agreed.
Yeah, I would say so
That's
too.
my pick for
Well,
A24 Pro.
I'm excited to revisit that. I saw that when it came out too. Super weird. I don't know what to say because I don't want to spoil it for any viewers who might join along, or for David who's going to have to watch it. It has a lot going for it, though. It also stars Mary Elizabeth Winstead. I wanted to mention.
Yes, yes.
Who's great, and I love to see her pop up anytime. But yeah, there's nothing else to say once you find out that one of the stars is a corpse the entire film, and that's just you're just gonna have to find out how that works.
Do we at least see? Do we? Oh man, I'll watch the movie. I'll find out. My questions will be answered.
True.
But all right. Starting. I mean, at least there's humor.
There's humor there.
There's humor. So I can get by with that.
All right.
All right.
You want?
No weird girl clicking her tongue a lot. My pick.
Yeah, you want to go?
For A24 Pro. We're going to go with one that was a pretty big hit, one of their more financially successfuls, one that almost launched a certain comedian into awards territory, and that is Uncut Gems from the Safdie brothers. Sometimes known as Uncut Gems.
Uncut Jams.
Jams.
Uncut Jams.
All I've ever heard about this movie is that it's super stressful.
Yeah.
And that it's just going to put you on edge the whole time. But it has Adam Sandler, so I was like, I could at least, maybe I can I can attach myself to the familiarity.
See,
I'm just saying, man.
I'm way more upset about you picking this than any horror I could have subjected you to, because this is however long it is, an anxiety attack on film.
Oh, I'm worried, but that was one of the ones that I was like, this is one I didn't see when it came out. I missed my chance.
Yeah.
So maybe I can get a chance to come back. But I mean, I was looking at other movies. I was looking at Moonlight. I was looking at The Green Knight. Basically anything with night or light in the title, and none of those were really quite what I was hoping for yet. I thought about going back and making you guys watch The Iron Claw, but
No, sir.
Okay. All right. So I wanted to see this when it came out. Never got around to it. It did pretty well. I remember Adam Sandler joked that he has that. There's that really popular TikTok sound of the guys who lost to Adam Sandler, or something like that, where he almost won a major award. I don't know what award it was, but probably just People's Choice, I'm sure. Anyhow, what do you guys think? You kind of told me you're anxious now.
It's a good pick. It's a good pick. I haven't seen it since it came out, which came out in 2019, so it's been a minute. To reiterate, it's an anxiety attack on film is how I experienced it, but very good. I mean, it is one of those like, wow, that is an incredible performance from Adam Sandler. He really it's like it was built for him, and it probably was in a way. And it's just like watching a guy just kind of lose it. That's all I can describe it as. Yeah. What do you think? How do you feel about watching this again, Garrett?
Oh yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I agree with you, but I liked it. I liked the experience. It was chaotic, it was stressful, but I was like, oh, I liked that because again, it was different. I appreciated because it honestly felt like living in a big city, and that is like what I feel like the environment would be in, and it put me in there. And yeah, it was really difficult to focus on everything because there is just so much chaos. It's a chaotic fever dream. So I'm very excited about this one too.
I can't wait. Yeah, it's very memeable. A lot of memes came out of this movie. A lot of great quotes come out of this movie. There's a performance from The Weeknd in this movie. There's a lot. It's
Yeah,
very
and
strange.
oh my God, the basketball player. I
Oh,
want to
yeah.
say Kevin Garnett. Kevin Garnett.
Kevin G. Come on, Kevin.
Yeah.
Give me
It's
my
great.
uncut gems. I can't wait.
All right, well, Josh, that brings us to
It's
you.
gonna be silly. Yeah. No. Okay. So no, I'm not gonna subject you to a horror movie. I chose a film that I think none of us have seen. I know that I haven't, and that is 2017's The Florida Project. It was directed by Sean Baker, who hasn't actually directed a lot. Now that I mention it, for some reason I was like, I feel like I know his name, but nope, not really. But it does star Willem Dafoe in a role that he was nominated for an Oscar for the year it came out. This is a movie that Letterboxd describes as the story of a precocious 6-year-old and her ragtag group of friends whose summer break is filled with childhood wonder, possibility, and a sense of adventure while the adults around them struggle with hard times. And this is essentially a story about a family who kind of lives in poverty around Disney World, literally.
I wondered if that was an element to it.
Yeah, the Florida Project is a reference, apparently, to what Walt Disney World was called when it was being built. It was referred to as the Florida Project, apparently. So it's a nod to that. And I just remember this being a movie that was talked about a lot, but never quite broke into the Oscars race. I think Defoe's nomination was the only one it picked up. But I never got around to seeing it. I always wanted to, and this feels like a good time.
Well,
Nice.
hey, I'm excited about that. I mean, I definitely, when you said the title, I was like, I wonder if that has anything to do with Disney World, and it does.
A little bit.
Sounds like an interesting film. And, when is it set? Is it set, I guess, in the 90s?
I'm not sure.
Or I guess it'll be set in the 70s then, huh?
Well, I don't know if it's like a, direct reference or just a title reference. I don't think it's set back in the 70s.
Oh, okay.
But I'm not exactly sure either.
Okay, well, that sounds interesting. Any other actors that we would recognize in it?
No. What's interesting about this movie is that a lot of the stars, it was their first time on film. Is another just fun fact about it. No, Willem Dafoe is the biggest name attached to it, acting wise. But I'm excited.
What about you, Garrett? Do you know much about this?
Nope, not much outside of what Josh relayed. I remember it being Willem Dafoe and nominated for that, and then I remember our independent movie theater, Circle Cinema, had it showing as one of those things. But no, I never got a chance to see it either, so I do think this will be a first time for all of us.
Good. I love it when that happens.
Very cool.
Well, before we talk about or tease the final movie real quick, just to recap, I'm going to be doing the Florida Project, which you can stream on Netflix if you'd like to join us. Garrett has chosen Swiss Army Man, which is streaming on Max. And David chose Uncut Gems, which is also streaming on Netflix. So we made that really easy for everybody.
Yeah, hopefully.
Hopefully that works out. Hopefully they stay there the whole month. But finally, we will, at some point in this month, also talk about A24's brand new film, Civil War. Let me pull that up on Letterboxd real quick. This movie is set in the near future. A group of war journalists attempt to survive while reporting the truth as the United States stands on the brink of civil war. This movie stars Kirsten Dunst, Nick Offerman as the President of the United States, I believe, which is kind of crazy. Jesse Plemons is in this movie. Got a crazy cast. Really tense subject matter. Really tense time to be released. So I think this is going to be a talked about movie. And I'm excited we're going to talk about it.
Yeah, and directed by Alex Garland, who has a pretty short filmography so far, but so far pretty well liked by most. He was director of Ex Machina. Annihilation, Men back in 2022. He was the writer for 28 Days and 28 Weeks Later. Supposedly working on a 28 Years Later. We'll see if that comes out or when that comes out. So it'll be interesting because Ex Machina was one of the earlier A24 films. So this is sort of, they're sticking with, some of the people that, have started with them. Almost 4 years later, we have this one now. So, or not 4 years, 10 years later, we have this one now. So I'm pretty interested in it. I remember when the trailer came out, there were two things that stood out to me. One of them was the implication that Texas and California would be aligned in a union. And I was like, I don't feel like that's likely. And the other one was the immediate comments I saw were like, oh man, journalists are the heroes. And I was like, oh man, great. This crowd's going to love this movie. Well, here we go.
I think that it's going to be interesting because, everything is so divisive in real life. You can't necessarily follow that because then you're just feeding into a certain stereotype, right? Mm-hmm. So it's really going to be interesting to see how and whatever develops with Texas and California to align them against the rest of America. I'm super excited about this. It looks intense, and A24 knows how to deliver an intense movie. It's got a great cast, and so I really hope. I'm not going to say any promises because sometimes it's not my fault, but I really hope that it delivers on what I'm expecting. I believe that it made one of our most anticipated. So
I think it did.
I think that it's going to be really. I think that it might get a lot of people out to the theater. I feel like it could have a surprising turnout of people going. I think it'll have a positive word of mouth, and I think that'll get people going.
Well, and it's such a what's the word? Not fantasy is the wrong word, but it's such a hot topic of conversation of, well, what if there was a civil war now? Civil war in the 1800s was totally different ecosystem than what you have today. There's a lot of like what ifs and what would happen here. So I think that's going to be interesting to a lot of people. And yeah, I think there's a chance. I don't know. I won't make any bold predictions, but at the same time, I think that this one has the ability, or at least has the capability of broad appeal for an A24 film, which doesn't always happen. You're muted there, Josh.
Yeah, I think it's going to be divisive. I think people are going to come out of this and they're going to say they either hate it or love it, as what I'm expecting. I think it'll have interesting scores on all the various scoring sites. It's just all my predictions, and it is. I think a lot of it is because I don't know if this is just not known or not, but I don't know. Yeah, why we're fighting in the movie. I don't know what causes the Civil War, so that'll be interesting to see how people react to whatever that is. Because surely it's going to be pushing some people's political buttons in some fashion. They're so easily pushed nowadays. So yeah, I expect a lot of conversation about this movie. I'm excited to talk about it. Should be a good month. We got a stellar lineup here. I'm excited. We've been killing it this year. If I do say so. If I do say so myself.
Yeah, it's
Pat
been
yourself
a pretty
on the
good
back,
year.
boys.
Whether we're talking Tom Hanks and Meg Ryan or whether we're talking about, Texas versus Washington.
Right.
Like we're gonna have fun.
All right. Well, that does it for us for this episode. We will get started with A24 Pro officially next time. Be sure you subscribe on our YouTube channel if you haven't done that yet. We're shooting for that goal of 137. Hopefully by the time you're watching this, it's like 2029 and we have 1.9 million followers, and you're like, what are you talking about? Nah.
Yeah.
137. That's all we want, and then we'll cut it off.
It's all we want.
It's
Why? It
exclusive.
doesn't matter.
But go do that. If you've been watching this video and you like what you see, go like it there. We've been posting videos of us talking about what we've been watching lately, what's been going on in the entertainment news, all kinds of fun stuff. So go do that. You can also check us out on the podcast feeds, wherever you get podcasts, and on social media, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and Threads. And finally, at SoManySequels.com, you can find all those links again, as well as links to all of our past episodes. So go check that out. We'll see you all next time.